What happens when a fan's love becomes a life-threatening obsession? He wasn't just a fan, he was a calculated threat.
The girl group said that someone has been persistently sending letters containing inappropriate content and photos. The individual is seen loitering and lingering around members' workplaces and nearby their residence.
There is a 90% chance that Nayeon truly loves me. Listen, and there's a 10% chance that she hates me, but she's too stupid to reject me.
The stalker, reportedly known to be a German citizen, released online posts that he was in a relationship with Nayeon of the group and attempted to approach her on a plane.
This German national didn't just follow his favorite idol online, he bypassed aviation security.
Some people on Twitter told me, try to get the same flight as them back to Korea. I hope people realize that I'm not a stalker. I'm not obsessed with Nayeon. This is also a thing I love Nayeon. I wanted to rehab.
Leaked private data.
He then made a tweet begging fans to help him contact Chaeyoung, during which he ended up leaking the number.
And forced her to live with 24/7 police protection.
These acts caused severe mental distress not only to Twice members, but also to those around them.
We talk about parasocial relationships in Gen Z culture all the time, especially in K-pop, but this is the ultimate extreme. This is the story of how one person's unhinged delusion forced a global K-pop idol to live under police protection and who thought he was the main character in her life. The price of fame. All K-pop stans have favorite idols. We stream the music, we buy albums, we have a bias, and that's normal. But for some, that very thin line between a fan and an obsession completely vanishes. Today, we're looking at the case that terrified the K-pop industry and redefined how agencies protect their idols. This is the story of Nayeon of Twice and the multi-year stalking campaign by a man known as Josh. Chapter 1: The Descent. I'm not talking about a casual fan wanting a autograph. This perpetrator is a German national born in 1994. He decided that the screen wasn't enough. In late 2019, he launched a two-pronged attack, one digital and one physical. Digitally, he wasn't just lurking, he was broadcasting. He began uploading self-documented YouTube videos and social media posts, essentially treating his travel to South Korea like a mission to find Nayeon.
It was just Nayeon's personality that I developed feelings for Nayeon, where she literally said that she wants the boyfriend to come quickly, and I was like, okay, maybe there is a chance for me to confess my feelings to her. And then I just went alone to South Korea in October 2019.
He was loud, he was persistent, and he was convinced of his own narrative.
Nayeon made a live stream here at this place. Down there is a studio where they told me that Twice comes there for a photo shooting. I gave them a note. They told me that they will give it to Nayeon. I went through over 100 stores and asked them if they sometimes see you. I gave them little notes and I asked them if they could and give those notes to you the next time they see you. I also have been at a nail salon and makeup studio. I have also been at the new JYP Entertainment Center around 5 to 6 times already.
And here's where the pathology kicks in. He wasn't just some random troll, he was deeply, dangerously delusional. He claimed he had a singular emotional connection with Nayeon.
You're not the only one who loves Nayeon. I'm sure there are a lot of men out there who also feel like
I am the only one that loves Nayeon, truly. What fans do is they see her as idol. Fans feel for their idol is not true love. You can evidently see that I am by far the person who proves it the most, who put the most effort into it, who puts his life into it, all his time, a lot of my money put into proving to Nayeon that I truly love her.
Even as going as far as to say,
nobody does as much for Nayeon as me. Not even her mother, not even her sister, not even her best friends. Nobody loves Nayeon as much as I do, not even close.
He saw himself not as a stalker, but as a protector, viewing her real-life family and her agency as a true obstacle to their relationship.
basically you're saying JYP doesn't want her to date because because that will affect her marketability, is what you're trying to say.
I realized, hold on, they probably told Nayeon the opposite. They didn't tell Nayeon that I am a good person. Instead, they probably went to Nayeon and they tried to scare Nayeon away from me.
Physically, he was relentless. He repeatedly showed up in Seoul, actively attempting to bypass security that JYP had in place to protect their artists.
He also loitered around in different areas within Cheongdam-dong, hoping to bump into Nayeon, and even attempted to visit her apartment complex.
This wasn't just an awkward encounter, it was a repeated, escalating attempt to get to her. This is what forced JYP's hand, and by December 2019, the situation was so volatile that the agency took the step to call in the authorities. They requested official police protection for Nayeon and the rest of the TWICE members, and they didn't stop there. To ensure their safety, the agency armed the members with special smartwatches, creating a direct, real-time distress link to local police stations.
I was at JYP Entertainment in December, and they lied to me because they at first pretended to be on my side. They said, please just wait 2 weeks, don't do anything in those 2 weeks. The same guy that promised me that he would give my letter to Nayeon. And then I waited 15 minutes at JYP Entertainment, and then he came back with 2 police officers, and then he came to me and he was like, we told you not to come back here. This guy tried to keep me silent for 2 weeks so that he can go to the police, lie about me, trying to get me kicked out of South Korea. Instead, they probably went to Nayeon and they tried to scare Nayeon away from me.
Imagine that for a second. Imagine just to have a panic button, just to exist, and that's the reality that Nayeon was living. Most of us worry about the privacy online, but for Nayeon, the digital world has physically manifested into a stalker who knew no boundaries, and as we are about to see, he was just getting started. Hi, I'm Christina, and here I talk about different K-pop topics, so if you're interested, subscribe. Chapter 2: The Aviation Security Breach. On January 1st, 2020, for most of us, it's the day of a new beginning, a new year, sleeping in, or maybe recovering from New Year's Eve. But for the members of TWICE, this day marked the moment their worst fears became reality. They weren't in a dorm or in a hotel room or somewhere safe. They were at 30,000 feet high, trapped in a commercial flight from Japan to South Korea, and they weren't alone. So you guessed it, Josh was also on the flight. So we need to talk about how he got there, because it's not just stalking, it's a whole underground industry. The perpetrator didn't just get lucky, he used the K-pop black market, where information brokers sell illegally flight schedules, seat numbers, and personal travel data of idols. It's a recurring toxic issue in the K-pop industry until today. So that's how the perpetrator boarded the same flight.
TWICE would take to Japan, but I was not sure if this guy was actually lying or not.
I wasn't sure if they will be on this flight, but some people on Twitter told me, so I took the gamble, I took the flight. It was kind of expensive, but whatever. Went to Japan, tried to get the same flight as them back to Korea.
So you first went to Korea, to the airport, to find out about their flight details. So you flew to Korea and then you flew to Japan.
Actually, I went to Gimpo, waited if TWICE actually comes at the time that the guy said. When they came, I knew the flights have to be true.
And once in the air, he made his move. He didn't just sit in his seat. He physically bypassed security measures in flight, attempting to approach Nayeon directly.
I took my letters out mid-flight. I went to Nayeon and I was like, 나연 입천실을 읽어주세요, which means like, Nayeon, could you please read the letter? And the moment I said that, the manager jumped on me, and I was like, I almost said like in a movie, and I was like, don't touch me, because I was like, dude. Then I said, 나연, 나는 stalker 아니다. 나는 너를 진심으로 사랑해. And I tried to communicate this to her over and over again, but the managers, they kept yelling, no, 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 no. They had the intention to make it impossible for me to communicate with Nayeon. But the managers were those who jumped on me, who created all this drama, who kept being loud. And it was sort of crazy.
I can't imagine what she went through at that time. It must have been horrible. Think about the vulnerability of that situation. You're in the air, 1,000 miles away from home, and your stalker is right on your same flight trying to approach you. It must have been insane. It was a very serious security threat towards the artist. So JYP security guards and the flight managers had to physically intervene to restrain him. It wasn't a verbal warning, it was a physical altercation at high altitude, and here is where the delusion truly reveals itself. Twice condemned Josh's actions during the plane incident, begging him to stop on Instagram. Josh refuses to believe it was about him, attributing the post to management rather than the members themselves.
The Instagram story that asked to go home, that happened before even the flight, before I even confessed to Nayeon, before I ever talked to Nayeon in real life, and also there was no evidence that the story was actually from Nayeon. It could have also been from the manager.
Basically, you're saying JYP doesn't want her to date because that will affect her marketability, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it will lower their profits and it will lower the ratings of
So you
the idol.
believe that
Yeah.
that's why they're keeping you away from Nayeon.
The company is trying to keep the idols from dating publicly because
Not really,
the public
because-
dating has shown to cause a lot of drama. The fact that I'm from Germany, the fact that I'm from a different country, because if she falls in love with me, for example, and I convince her for whatever reason to go to Germany, and then she stops with her career in JYP Entertainment, and JYP Entertainment would basically lose a Nayeon, which is very profitable for them.
After the incident, the perpetrator, he went online on YouTube and made a confession video claiming with a straight face that he only intended to leave a love letter to her.
Just the letters. Then I stood up calmly, walked to Jonghyun and Nayeon and walked there, and then I asked calmly when I was standing here, by the way they were kind of sleeping, I asked, hey Nayeon, can you read my letters in Korean? And I said the first word already. Both managers rushed to me, jumped on me, and they really attacked me, and they really physically attacked me.
We wanted to go to Korea already at the start of April, but sadly this has been delayed because of the coronavirus, and I actually was planning giving her my letter at an event. I wrote a new letter and I hope that I can get my letter to Nayeon. It explains basically the whole situation, my side of the story. Also, I hope that by now Nayeon knows already that I truly love her. Hopefully realizes that she is honestly the love of my life. A lot of people think like I'm some sort of obsessed fan or something like that. I am not really a fan of TWICE. I see myself more as a friend. The feelings that I have for Nayeon are not fan feelings. They are true feelings. Like what I feel for Nayeon is true love.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's the classic erotomanic delusion, reframing an act of aggressive pursuit as a romantic gesture. He genuinely thought that by forcing this confrontation, he was doing something kind. So this was the breaking point. JYP realized that polite defensive measures didn't work and were useless against someone who would cross international borders to force an interaction. They launched a dual-layer legal offense that changed everything. First, on January 7th of 2020, they filed for a temporary restraining order in the Seoul Central District Court to legally bar him from approaching Nayeon or entering corporate properties, but a restraining order alone doesn't put someone behind bars. So later, on January 8, still in 2020, they lodged a criminal complaint at the Seoul Gangnam police station. Here's the genius and the necessity of a legal strategy. Since South Korean stalking laws at that time were very weak, often resulting in nothing more than a few minor fines, JYP's legal team knew that this wouldn't stop him, so they filed under the Article 314, which stands for interference with business. They argued that this stalker wasn't just bothering an artist, he was disrupting a massive, publicly traded corporation business by framing his stalking as a major felony that disrupted global schedules and required emergency corporate asset reallocation. They forced the state to take this case seriously. They didn't just protect Nayeon, they turned the entire weight of the South Korean legal system against him, using commercial law to treat his love like the criminal business disruption that actually was. But even with the law on their side, a legal piece of paper doesn't stop a delusional person from trying again. And as we're about to see, the story was far from over. Chapter 3: The Doxxing and the Victim Complex. By late January 2020, the walls were closing on this perpetrator. JYP had filed for a restraining order and a criminal complaint, and the K-pop fandom, the once community, was absolutely fed up. They weren't just watching anymore, they were taking action, and that's where things got messy. Between January 25th and January 26th, the Stalker started feeling the blowback. Fans had successfully doxed him, exposing his family names and personal details online, but instead of realizing that his behavior had real-world consequences, his pathology took a sharp turn. He started tweeting, claiming that the people were threatening his friends and family, attempting to frame himself as a victim of a mob mentality witch hunt, which, yeah, going after his friends and family is wrong. In this case, he's the criminal, so he should take all the responsibility, you know? Doxing his friends and family, it's pretty unfair to me. But anyway, let's go on. And that's when he did the unthinkable. On January 26th of 2020, he leaked the private phone number of Twice member Chaeyoung on Twitter. It was an invasion of privacy so blatant, so aggressive, that it forced the idols to break their professional silence. Chaeyoung didn't hold back in a move that is extremely rare in the curated K-pop world and posted a statement on Twice's official Instagram account. She wrote, quote-unquote, "We're at our limits to stay quiet and wait for you to stop. Due to the 11 digits that are inconsiderate and disrespectful of the person posted on the internet, my phone is bombarded with calls and text messages, and I'm going through some needless trouble. These actions hide behind the name of being a fan. I demand you to stop disrespectful, boundary-crossing behavior." Think about the gravity of that. Chaeyoung wasn't just defending herself, she was explicitly stripping away the label of fan from this person, correctly classifying him as a predator. But watch how the delusion works.
I couldn't call Chaeyoung from Germany because I was already back in Germany, and then I asked on Twitter because I again thought for some reason that I'm only surrounded by adults, by mature people. That's why I leaked the number, because I thought the other people who see this have good intention as well, and they are trying to help me, they are trying to help Nayeon. But instead, these children, they instead used that number to harass Chaeyoung. Then Chaeyoung obviously got mad at me. I'm not usually surrounded by normal people. I'm usually surrounded by very smart people. And that's why, for example, leaking a number, for example, like that, in my surroundings where everyone is smart, leaking a number is not a problem because everyone knows how to deal with that and respect with that.
In this case, even after she called him out, he tweeted back. He admitted to the leak of her phone number and claimed that her post actually hurt his feelings. He was demanding that she would delete her own statement because he was, quote-unquote, scared. The hell? So that's the classic definition of a victim complex with an erotomanic delusion. When the object of his affection or her friends finally pushes back, he doesn't see a boundary being set. He sees a betrayal. He feels wronged because in his head, he's the one providing this love. So this was the breaking point. Facing intense backlash, the risk of legal prosecution, and the overwhelming hate of being doxxed, he finally realized he couldn't stay in Seoul anymore. So on January 28th, he fled away finally in 2020, and he wrote a tweet, quote-unquote, "I decided to go back to Germany now. Maybe she wants me to go back."
And here's the thing, if Nayeon tells me, hey, I don't want a relationship right now, or hey, I appreciate what you did, Josh, but please go back to Germany, I of course would go back to Germany. I'm not a stalker, I'm not someone who's trying to bother her. I love her and I want her to feel happy. To be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed of Nayeon. She could have stood up and scolded the managers. She could have protected me from the managers. It kind of wants me to go back to Germany, to be honest. I feel like she could have really helped me out here and she didn't. So that's also kind of a sign that maybe after all she doesn't like me. And if that's true, then I will go back to Germany.
Let's be for real, but he obviously didn't leave just because he was feeling guilty. He thought that leaving that country meant that the nightmare was over, but JYP Entertainment set a trap that he didn't even see coming. Chapter 4: The Legal Trap. So the stalker is back in Germany. He's probably feeling pretty untouchable, right? He's thousands of miles away, thinking he dodged the legal consequences of his actions. But here's the thing about high agencies like JYP: they aren't just protecting an idol, they are protecting their brand, their asset, and their business. They weren't playing around anymore. The reality was that JYP had filed for a civil restraining order, but you can't just mail a court document to someone in another country and expect it to stick. Because of what we call service of process failures, basically the bureaucratic nightmare of sending papers internationally, the civil order was basically useless.
I am really sure that Nayeon likes me and that she wants me to come back to Korea, and here's why. So, first of all, at the start of this year, I received a restraining order. But this restraining order was not from Nayeon, it came from JYP Entertainment. And JYP Entertainment tried to destroy my image and tried to intentionally scare Nayeon away from me because they feared that Nayeon might neglect her job if me and Nayeon start a relationship. So why would she hate me? That would not make any sense. I know. One time I accidentally leaked Chaeyoung's phone number, and I admit it was a mistake, and I apologized for that already. I know that Nayeon wants me to go back to Korea, and if she really would not want me to go back to Korea to visit her, then she would have already contacted me a long time ago to talk with me about it clearly.
So on March 18th of 2020, they made a strategic move. They withdrew the civil restraining order, but don't mistake that for quitting. While they dropped the civil case, they kept the criminal complaint for interference of business. So they didn't need the restraining order to hold him accountable. They had something much stronger. They coordinated directly with the Korean Immigration Service and the National Police Agency. They created a permanent digital trap. His passport number, his personal data, his biometrics were all flagged in the system. This meant if he ever tried to set foot in South Korea again, he wouldn't just be entering the country, he would be triggering a silent alarm that notified the Gangnam police station instantly. So for a while this worked. He stayed away. But in September 2022, he actually re-attempted to enter South Korea. The stalker even uploaded video evidence of his return to his YouTube channel. And let me tell you, JYP was ready. The moment he tried to re-enter, security was deployed immediately.
I'm right now here in front of the Seoul Central District Court. What confuses me is that apparently Nayeon went to the Seoul Central District Court here in early 2020 to help me. And it is said that Nayeon went to the Seoul Central District Court in early 2020 to request to withdraw the restraining order that JYP Entertainment has put against me. So what confuses me is why can Nayeon spend multiple hours to go here and help me in early 2020, but at the same time she can't even take a few minutes to give me clarity about what she thinks about me. Nayeon, should I stay here in South Korea or should I go back to Germany? Nayeon, just give me a clear answer.
Even after all the legal threats, the international travel, the police involvement, he still keeps coming back because to him the law wasn't a barrier, it was just an inconvenience, I guess. He viewed his return as a continuation of this quest, even though he was walking directly into a legal minefield.
Hi, Nayeon. As you can see, I am near your apartment here in Cheongdam-dong, but sadly the stairways of the apartment building that you live in are locked with a code. Nayeon, please tell me clearly, do you want me to stay in South Korea or do you want me to go back to Germany? 5 days ago, the police has been on the street in front of the apartment building that you live in, and they got again misinformed by JYP Entertainment. The police thought that I am a stalker that is trying to scare Nayeon, and they even threatened me because JYP Entertainment told them lies about me. JYP Entertainment keeps trying to make me look like a bad person. I had to go to the police many times and explain to them my situation. Nayeon, could you please explain to everyone that I never did anything bad to you? that would really help a lot.
So the legal system proved that it could protect the artist at the border, but it couldn't necessarily cure this obsession. It just turned a stalking case into a game of perimeter defense. And as we're about to see, when you stop a person like this from getting what they want, they don't just go away, they change their strategy. They go from being an obsessive fan to something even more dangerous. Chapter 5. The Extortion Shift. So the legal traps were set. The airport was locked in. The legal system has effectively cut him off from his target. You would think that eventually the obsession would burn out. But here's the thing about pathological obsession. It doesn't just evaporate when it hits a brick wall. It morphs and changes in something else. So between 2025 and 2026, this year, his story changed. The romantic delusion, the idea that he was her soulmate, didn't disappear, but it was forced to adapt because he couldn't get to her, so he pivoted from unrequited love to wronged victim. This is the most dangerous stage of the automatic stalking. He stopped talking about love and started talking about money. He began claiming through his YouTube channel that Nayeon actually baited him into all of his actions. He now says that Nayeon, or even the Korean people as a collective, owe him substantial financial compensation for what he went through.
Almost spent millions of dollars already to make Nayeon happy, to fulfill every wish that Nayeon has. She could have rejected me or something like that. Or she could have said, oh, that's so good of you, Josh, of course, I love you back and we can date. Or she could have said, just wait a little bit, Josh. It's not the right time. In case she rejects me, only then she would have to repay some of the efforts because she could have rejected me much earlier. Then I will have to request the money back and I have to ask the police to help and the court for help. And then sadly, the taxpayers, the Korean and German taxpayers have to probably repay the money.
And in fact, it seems to perfectly line up with this alleged voice recording of Josh, where he implied that he would hurt Nayeon if Nayeon were to date someone else.
I would never hurt Nayeon, but if she dates secretly behind my back without talking with me about it, then of course, dude, are you fucking retarded, man? Are you fucking completely retarded? This is the most normal thing to do.
The audacity this man has is on another level, like insane. So when the fantasy of a romantic relationship with Nayeon was crushed, he weaponized it into extortion to maintain his own delusional behavior. It's not about her anymore, it's about his broken narrative.
Right now, there is a 90% chance that Nayeon truly loves me, and there's a 10% chance, listen, and there's a 10% chance that she hates me, but she's too stupid to reject me.
But haven't you thought about the fact that if she really loved you that much, then she wouldn't even have waited 3 years. She would have already quitted twice once she wouldn't even have renewed her contract. That means she cares about the other Twice members more than you. This already shows she doesn't care that much about you, right?
So what you would do is, you would quit and you would go to Nayeon and you would say, okay, repay me all my effort, I quit, this is it, pay me back my $3 million, I will go back to Germany, that's it.
This case isn't just about one person. I mean, imagine how many cases like this there are out there that we don't even know because they don't really post online about them. This story showed us that in a hyper-connected world, domestic laws are often outdated. They didn't stop him with standard stalking laws. They stopped him by framing his behavior as a business disruption, which forced the state to treat it as a felony. So protecting public figures now requires more than bodyguards. It requires a mix of private security, border control integration, digital threat monitoring, and a legal strategy that treats harassment with the seriousness it deserves. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!